House to Home, presented by RE/MAX Diamond Realty.
Okay, everybody, here is an episode of House to Home that we do every 2 years. Kind of interesting theme there, and we'll tell you why. Because Liz, Gina, and John Duenas is joining us. Uncle John, buenas. Always good to see you.
Hey, good to
All
be
right.
on.
All right. And John, of course, is the vice chairman of the Guam Association of Realtors, an organization of which Liz and Gina have held high leadership positions. They've helped guide the organization. And every 2 years, when there's an election, the membership always has a range of criteria that they use that they present to the various candidates running for public office. And today's episode is going to be on who the Guam Association of Realtors favors in the senatorial race. So that's always an interesting thing. Now, John, can you kind of break it down on exactly what the criteria that the realty community, looks for in a prospective candidate?
So I'm vice chair of the Government Affairs Committee of the Guam Association of Realtors. Monty McDowell is the chairman, and every election year we look at all the candidates and we develop criteria for ranking. We normally precede this with a questionnaire that centers around real estate issues, and we send it to the different candidates and asking them to respond to it in writing. And then we hold a sort of an interview session. It's a virtual session where all the candidates are invited to appear. Some candidates choose to appear, some don't. Some because of time commitments or other scheduling conflicts could not attend. And then during that forum, that's virtual forum, questions are asked of these candidates, and they give answers, and we evaluate their answers and see if the candidates support the issues that GAR supports.
Now, I like this because anybody can like put a billboard together or, like make a radio commercial, fix their hair like nice and everything like that. You guys are actually judging them on on the fitness of their platforms or their ability to respond to questions, I guess, pertinent to not only real estate, but some other issues that are very important to your community.
So there are two types of candidates, and evaluating them sort of takes a different a route. There are the incumbents, and then there are the candidates who are vying to be elected to the legislature, to 38. The incumbents, we evaluate their performance during the 37th Guam legislature. And we had issues that we brought to the legislature, or we supported. There were bills that were industry related, and we actually evaluated their performance and their response to those legislative issues. A lot of them are bills, and then that factors into our ranking of them. The other candidates, some candidates are new to running for the legislature. Some have run and then they haven't run, such as Tony Ada. He was a senator. He wasn't the last, or he wasn't under this 37th Guam legislature, but he's running now.
Mhm.
So we look at what he's done in the past, and he supported real estate issues that we support in the past. And for the new candidates, we actually we asked them to answer the questionnaires, that we asked them to appear on the forum to answer questions. If they didn't show up at the forum, they really got no credit, because you just don't appear, you don't get any credit. We really don't want to try to judge what their excuses were for not being able to attend. Some of them are really legitimate, maybe all of them, but because you didn't appear, you got no credit. But we did evaluate candidates that answered the questionnaires. Not all candidates answered the questionnaires, but we did evaluate those that answered. We looked at their answers and ranked them accordingly. And then, of course, if you're new and haven't run for any office, you're basically unknown. You don't have a track record. Very difficult to get credit for something you haven't done. So in a way that kind of handicaps new candidates. We do look at what they've done before. Just to give you an example, Sabrina Montanani, Salas
Mhm.
Montanani. I mean, everybody knows her because she used to be a broadcaster
I
and
believe I've heard of her.
yeah, an anchor woman. Yeah, so she has a track record, and so she brings that to her campaign, and so he gets a little bit of credit, or maybe you don't get all that credit. I think just to freelance a little bit in terms of making commentary. Chris Barnett had that same thing
Mhm.
when he ran. I think he's been in the legislature just one term, right?
And you're
Uh,
also not just like kind of like basically holding these senatorial hopefuls accountable on their ability to respond to essentially a pop quiz, right? You're also taking into consideration, as you said, your
that is,
experience going in, the evidence if you previously served in addition to, FaceTime.
and also some of these candidates today were candidates for the previous legislative election years, and some of them we evaluated already in the past. We know where how they've supported GAR issues, so they get a little bit of credit for that.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
so and the participants in the ranking all gave their evaluation, where we didn't act as a sort of a monolith. Everybody had their own opinions and their own um, take on how these candidates would do and how they would relate to our issue. And
Okay.
that's
So
how the ranking.
go ahead, Gina.
John, I wanted to ask you how many people did not submit the questionnaire, did not respond.
I don't know the number, but quite a few.
Quite a number of them did not
Shameful.
respond. I know it is
I know.
shameful. It is shameful.
Okay,
Yeah.
there
Some
are
of them,
25 senatorial candidates in all. There's 11 Democrats and 14 Republicans, or I think
yeah,
that's or the other way
and
around.
you would think that if you were concerned, you would have shown up, you would have answered the questions. And there's a number of them who didn't. And
Yeah.
it's their choice. But as a result, based on the group that did show, some of them, as John put it, had good excuses. But we also looked at their the questionnaire. What solutions did they have to improve our community? So there were good responses, and those were taken into account. As you know, Gina and I and John have been very active with the legislature, and we see where people, how they think, how they vote, the mechanics of the system, where sometimes favors are bought, and where people group together to support a certain issue, and then a group that do not support a particular issue. So at least I'm on the committee, and when I voted, of course, I voted based on my observation of how on the performance. So I think the key here between Gina, myself, and John, and those within our organization, it's all about what are we going to do to help improve our community needs and move in that direction. And it's not for monetary gain. We don't get any monies to sit and lobby at the legislature, nor do other realtors gain from us supporting community issues. So I want to emphasize that the Guam Association of Realtors is about improving our community, helping. We are of service. We're here to serve and nothing more.
I think you'll see by the slate of candidates that we're supporting that we're really nonpartisan. You see Democrats and Republicans. It's a mix.
Well, tell you what, like I know everybody out there right now they're gonna wring my neck if I don't bring this graphic up. So you guys ready to make your reveal? Here is who the Guam Association of Realtors supports this year in the congressional and senatorial races. So John, if you would kind of like give us a breakdown of those candidates.
So the candidates that we're supporting: Chris Duenas, Roy Kinata, Tony Ada, Will Parkinson, Sabrina Montanani, Jesse Lujan, Josan Augustin, Tina Munoz Barnes, Vince Borja, Tom Fisher, Sean Gumatautau, and Dwayne St. Nicholas. And then we also
So seven, if my math is correct, that's 7 Republicans and 5 Democrats.
I believe that's it.
Yeah.
I didn't count, but that's probably correct.
Okay.
And congressional candidate.
Now, we've had test cases in front of the legislature. We had bills that we were supporting, and we actually submitted testimony. We appeared at the public hearings. We watched the floor debates, and surprisingly, I was surprised. Let's just give you an example. I'm not campaigning for him. I was surprised how Roy Kinata was knowledgeable, and he really supported the GAR issues. That's why he's up there.
He's a sharp guy.
Duenas as well. And for me, surprisingly, Will Parkinson. I didn't know him, but I'll tell you, he was supporting issues that supported GAR positions.
And of course, the incumbent Congressman Jim Moylan also gets your nod for our next congressional delegate.
That's correct.
Yeah, I just want to point out about Jim Moylan. We normally attend the National Association of Realtors in Washington, D.C., and we happened to be there when he was called into a meeting with all these military generals, admirals. And I'll tell you, he made Guam proud. Some people have said he's not as articulate as the other candidate, but I'll tell you, when we watched him in action, he was articulate. He represented Guam very well, and you could see the attention that he was given. And we were also in Washington, D.C. when he was listening. He was at the head of the Congress listening to bills.
He was actually acting speaker.
He was acting speaker. And again, they've appointed him many a time to stand before the session hall to hear bills. And that doesn't happen just to anyone. And it just gives the appearance that they have confidence. He has the ability to gain attention during these hearings, and he conducts himself very well. So having observed and watched over the years, I mean, my vote was, hey, we've got to support him because we've watched him perform and actually get things done in DC.
Okay, I do have a question just out of curiosity because you were saying this represents a ranking based on the criteria and the points you assigned and everything. Are you able to recall just off the top of your head who some of the candidates that didn't make this senatorial cut of the top 12? Like who were some of the ones on the fringe?
The fringe or not at all. I mean, some of the way bottom.
Okay, or was it purely like a binary thing? Either you're in or you get the nod or thumbs up, thumbs up.
It's a ranking like 1 to 10.
Okay.
And then when you total up the scores, those that were above 50 are the people
I
you
see.
see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
John,
That
can I
didn't
just-
get. Go
John,
ahead,
can
Gina.
I ask the question? How many people are on your committee? How many participated?
I think there were 5 of us that actually were there to vote. There were some that, for whatever commitments they had, weren't able to be
I
at the
think it's
ranking
about
session.
10 on the committee, and maybe 8 or 9 showed up.
Well, yeah, I don't
Okay, well,
remember how many.
that's a good
But there
group
were a
of
sizable
people.
number. Most of the
Yeah.
committee members
Yeah.
were there to rank. Yeah, and everybody kind of gave their opinion or their point of view regarding every candidate. So, and we all listened, and then we put down our score, and then when you total it up, that's kind of what you get. I'll just give you an example. Tony Anna wasn't there for 37th Guam legislature, but he had always supported a lot of GAR issues, or GAR supported issues, and because of that, he got credit for that. Maybe as an example of somebody who didn't quite get the credit, let's say Shelley Calvo. She answered the questionnaire. She couldn't appear, and I believe it was because Paul Calvo passed away and she was tied up.
Yeah.
But because, we can't really evaluate the reasons why candidates couldn't appear. I mean, we don't want to be a judge as to whether it was valid or not. We just across the board said, if you didn't appear, then you didn't get any credit. So, and that's, I think she was handicapped by that.
And again, this is from the Guam Association of Realtors based on the questionnaire that they gave with their concerns.
And everybody had their input. I think for myself, I can say that if I saw one candidate that went to the public hearings, were vocal about certain issues, that attended, a number of things and showed that they were concerned about the community even before running for senator, then I'll say, okay, I can cast my vote for that person. Or if they're involved with some community events and they're very visible that they want to make a difference for the community, at that point I can say, okay, let's vote. I want to put my vote, whatever points that may be, for that individual. But if they haven't proven that they're concerned about our community or haven't lived here for that long, then I'm sorry, I can't vote for that person. Or if they're, like I said, if Gina and I go to the
Well-
legislature a lot to listen, and so
But
does John.
I don't think, maybe when you say I can't vote for that, maybe you didn't give them as high a
Yeah.
score as
Yeah.
you could have.
I could have given
Because
them
it-
one
yeah,
or two or
yep,
three.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and I just want to make a point about, you know, we're saying concerns by the Guam Association of Realtors, and really every time I've participated, whether it's behalf of REMAX or just for myself as a concerned citizen, and I've gone down in support of the Guam Association of Realtor issues that they're down there trying to promote or trying to, you know, push forward. These are community issues. They're not Guam Association of Realtor issues. They're not real estate professional issues. They're community issues. They're issues about, for instance, the infrastructure issues that we had, talking about the septic tank systems, and John was instrumental in getting that moved along. Issues with the ADU, the additional dwelling units. I mean, these are community issues. These types of issues are for the benefit of everybody in our community. And so the Guam Association we promote those type of issues because we deal with the community on a one-to-one, day-to-day basis when it comes to housing here and developments, generally speaking. And so these things do concern us as individuals, but particularly for John and Liz, it concerns them because they really work hard on the association level to move these things forward. And it isn't for personal gain. Liz brought that up. This is not for our personal gain. This is for our community, so that our families can stay on Guam and we can move forward. Housing, I think, is the number one key issue that has driven people off island.
I know that whole idea of, you know, so and so got like priced out of paradise. That's a really scary. I mean, I like scary movies. That's truly frightening right there. Where if you want to live and, you know, make Guam, you know, your place to raise your family, go to school, you know, open a business and everything like that, and you literally cannot afford to live here because the market is such that you literally are priced out of paradise. That's a very frightening thing.
Yeah.
It is, definitely.
Okay, so obviously, the Guam Association of Realtors, one of the many special interest groups, and in this case, a political action committee that has directly dialogued and interfaced with the candidates seeking your endorsement if you're out there watching this on whatever platform you're watching. These are their opinions, and these are the candidates that they have talked to, that they have held to a certain standard, and that they have endorsed. So Liz, John, and Gina, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you,
All
Jason.
right, we'll see you soon.
Everyone, go out there and vote. Vote, vote, vote.
That's right.
House to Home, presented by REMAX Diamond Realty.